Hi there and welcome to this week 3 summary video. First of all, to say how delighted I am that you're still enjoying the course, that you're still staying with us, and I hope that you're still learning from the course. There's been a few things that have cropped up this week that I think is worth talking a little bit more about. However, I think it's also important to say that we're really just skimming the surface here of the various subjects that we're looking at. We could go into a lot more detail and we could actually dedicate a 5-week course to some of the things that we're actually talking about. So really great that you're having all these discussions, trying to feed into them as much as we can, but please bear with us, as I'm sure you can appreciate it's very difficult to cover everything in this short time. But just wanted to start talking a little bit about starch, because I noticed that there's been some discussion around about starch and feeding cereal grains and whether we should feed it with hay or at a different time from hay, and what is high starch. And you know, these are all really good questions, and basically high starch feeds are when we're feeding starch in enough amounts that it allows the starch to trickle through to the large intestine. So currently the recommendation is that we don't feed any more than 1 gram of starch per kilogram live weight per meal. Okay, so it's about the amount of starch that's being fed in one meal, and if we feed too much starch in one meal, then potentially there's more starch going to get through to the hindgut, where it can potentially cause some disruption. So hopefully that's helpful. The other thing is about the timing of starch. Well, there's been a few different studies done in this area, and I think the message here is that if you're not feeding large meals of starch, then it doesn't have a great impact on whether you feed the hay at the same time, or if you feed it an hour before, or if you feed it a bit later. So I don't think it's something to be overly worried about. And there's lots of other things that we could look at here, whether or not we feed starch beforehand or whether we should feed hay, so that we've then got some buffering going on in the stomach before starch is coming in there. But I think in general the message is that what we want to do is just, if we are feeding starchy feedstuffs, to feed them in small meals and not to have these large meals where we're potentially compromising the digestibility in the small intestine. The other aspect was oil. I noticed that sparked some debate on whether we should be feeding oil, and actually oil is a very useful component to add to horse diets. There's been lots of studies done around feeding oil to horses with no detrimental effects reported, and they're very good for particular situations. So for example, maybe you've got a pregnant mare in late gestation where she's got higher energy requirements but she's got lower feed intake, so you want to add energy to the ration, but her intake is limited because of the growing size of her uterus. So oil is very useful in that case. It's also good for horses who need to put on a little bit of weight and again maybe have a limited appetite. So it does have its use. Again, you can feed too much oil, and the studies that shown if you feed too much in one go, then the oil can actually trickle through again into the hindgut and cause some potential disruption with regards to fibre digestibility. But in general, we typically don't feed that much oil in the diet to cause these problems. And finally then, byproducts. So again, there seemed to be some debate about the usefulness of these or the quality of these, and I just want to remind you that these are byproducts of the human nutrition industry. So for example, a very good byproduct is sugar beet pulp. And what's good about sugar beet pulp as an example of a byproduct is it contains a lot of fibre, so it's ideal for the horse. But the fibre in sugar beet pulp is very readily broken down by the microbes in the large intestine. So it's a very good fibrous energy source. The fibrous is readily broken down and releasing then the energy from the volatile fatty acids that are being produced. So just bear that in mind, that some byproducts, for example, when we talk a little bit about wheat bran that has a low nutritional value, may not be such a good use of a byproduct in equine diets, whereas other byproducts such as sugar beet pulp are extremely good products. So just bear that in mind, and just remember that not all byproducts, because of their name, suggest that they're not potentially good components of the diet. So again, just a short summary, just picking up on the key points. I hope you find that helpful. I'm really glad that you're staying with us on the course. I hope you're enjoying it. We're loving having you on the course, and we'll continue to have these weekly catch-ups as we go through. Bye for now.